Sup, Nerdmigos? I'm the disembodied voice of the Jive Talking Nerd, John Norgrove. We've got Wife here, center stage, and today she's going to teach us how to make chocolate chip cookies because I wanted chocolate chip cookies.
And we figured, why not? And I make them in a very specific way, so I figured it would be great to share it with all of you.
That's fair.
So to start off, a lot of people think that making cookies can be a lot of work. You know, some people make cookies only like once a year, and it's at Christmas time, and they do it for like 12 hours at a time, and they just get so tired of making cookies that it just feels like a huge deal to make cookies. But I challenge you to do 1 egg cookies. Or 1 egg baking stuff. 1 egg's worth of cookies. Yeah. So here we have 1 egg. And the reason that I say 1 egg is it doesn't take a lot of ingredients. It takes a lot less time, and then you get your cookies pretty quickly. And it's hard, you know, to do a half an egg.
What about like an ostrich egg's worth of chocolate chip cookies?
We're not going to do an ostrich egg's worth of chocolate cookies. I don't even know how much that is. I feel like an ostrich egg is like this big.
I think an ostrich egg
like the size of a small watermelon.
Is roughly comparable to like 5 regular eggs when you use it in recipes. I've actually heard this fact before. So,
oh yeah? So this is just a regular egg from our chickens. We have chickens that lay green eggs. There is no difference between it. This is a large egg. You could use extra large. It kind of doesn't matter on being super exact. I know, there are some crazy bakers out there that don't like that, but I am pretty willy-nilly with a whole bunch of this stuff and just kind of let things go. So if you're one of those people, it's best maybe that you either grab a pillow to scream into now, or maybe just stop watching this video.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're not going to be all like precise about shit, because that's lame. We don't care about that. So, an ostrich egg, I looked it up because I care this much about things.
It's important.
An ostrich egg is roughly the equivalent of 24 chicken eggs.
Oh my god, no!
Yeah.
That's...
An ostrich egg is approximately 2,000 calories, which means, listen,
you can eat one ostrich egg and that's it. That's all you need a day.
But
one
do ostriches lay an egg a day like chickens?
I don't believe
because that would be horrifying.
Most of them don't. And the chickens can hear us now, as you can maybe hear in the background.
Yeah,
so, I also like, so not only do I do 1 egg recipes, but I also do, I also try to do recipes in 1 bowl because we don't have a dishwasher. We live in a 115-year-old cabin, and there's no space for a dishwasher.
Also,
so I have to wash everything by hand. So a 1 egg recipe is that where you basically reduce down whatever your standard recipe is to 1 egg. And that for a cookie recipe is usually somewhere between like half of what the recipe calls for to a quarter. So you're looking at less cookies, but also less time. So that's good. So we're going to go ahead and start by getting our egg into the thing.
Our oven here is preheated to 375.
Yes.
So she's going to put the egg in there, and then she's just smushing it up.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of mixing it around. It's not going to be fully
whisked.
You know, fully whisked or anything like that. From here, what I do is then I add my salt and baking soda. So this is 1/2 teaspoon salt and 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, and then I'm going to mix that in. And next, I am going to take some of this beautiful homemade vanilla extract. Thanks, Dad. You know, a lot of people measure this stuff out.
Just put like a few drips.
Just like a little glug. Technically, the recipe calls for 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract, but just put however much you like in there. Because that's how I roll. In fact, I haven't measured how much of an extract goes into a thing for probably 10 years. I just figure it out.
Or like cinnamon.
Nope. If I'm using an extract, it's just like a glug. How much is a glug? You don't know. And then you're going to go ahead and mix that together.
It's okay, guys. I'm the only one that has to eat these, and I'm pretty certain I can eat poison, so... Yeah.
So next we're going to go ahead and add sugar. So you're looking at adding a full cup of sugar to this recipe, but the way that I break it down is a little different than the recipe calls for. So the technical recipes for most of these call for a pretty even split 50-50 of white sugar and brown sugar. However, I prefer these cookies to be a little more on the brown sugar side. They're a little bit more roasty, toasty tasting, a little bit more dark sweet as opposed to like just sweet in general. So I have 2/3 cup brown sugar. I love that. And I have 1/3 cup white sugar. not as much fun. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix that together. So we've got...
Give me those measuring utensils.
So this is really going to kind of make like a nice sugary paste here. And then at this point is when I add our butter. So you would go with 1 stick of butter, which is 1/4 of a pound, but we buy those Amish rolls of butter, which are fantastic.
Not sponsored by these guys.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by them.
Amish roll butter.
Hey, Amish roll butter, if you want to sponsor me, that would be great because your butter is literally the only butter I can eat.
It's the best butter. It's super high quality.
For those of you that know me, I am allergic to soybean oil, and for outfits that make butter specifically, who feed their livestock a large amount of soy, I'm allergic to that. So rather than paying for incredibly expensive butter, because I'm not made of money, I buy the Amish roll butter because it tastes fantastic and I've never had an allergic reaction problem to it. So now is when we're going to cream the butter. Most of these recipes, you do this first, and I'm lazy and I don't want to have to wash a whole bunch of bowls, so I'm going to do it my way.
And to cream the butter. So what are you doing here? You just like
so you're really just like
if you see it's like way
mixing
more
it up and
also this was like hyper room temperature ass butter.
Yeah, you want to always add butter to a cookie recipe at room temperature.
Just let your butter sit out. Don't microwave your butter. Just
don't microwave it. That never works.
It's gonna be fine. You don't need to worry that much.
Yeah, and you want to keep going until you don't see any streaks of butter in here, because
you just eat that because that's just butter and brown sugar, and what the fuck else are you gonna do, right?
Basically that's it. So actually that leads me to the next point, which is fantastic. So these cookies that I make have an extra ingredient, and that's Chipotle powder, because I like everything to be sweet and spicy, and I can't open this jar. I should have pre-opened it. So I get Chipotle peppers from the Mexican spices section at the grocery store in those like little plastic bags, and then I actually they're not dry enough to really put into something like this or to grind in a coffee grinder. So I take those Chipotle peppers, I roast them really low, really slow in an oven until they are dry enough to be ground in a coffee grinder, and then grind them and use them. So it gives like this spicy kind of scent to it, but it's also
warm,
very
smoky
warm and smoky, and I love it.
Not like barbecue smoky, just like gently hints of smokiness.
Yeah.
It's really good in really anything involving chocolate, right? It's the Mexican chocolate idea, right?
Yeah.
It's like adding a little bit of heat to a chocolate is like the sauce.
Yeah. Now, for those of you who don't really eat spicy food, you're really going to want to add this to your level of spice. We are spicy food people, and this is a half a teaspoon, and that's about how much I add to it. So if
it's not spicy by the fucking
you've just got like a little bit of a kick to the end
like
of
a little
it.
bit of heat
But
on
if
the
you
end.
don't really eat spicy food, if Taco Bell hot sauce is hot for you, then reduce that. You can maybe just add a pinch. Really what you're looking for is not just the spice and the heat, but also a little bit of that dark smoky flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix that all together now. Now is a good time, once I have this Chipotle in here, to taste to see what I want it to taste like. Because I haven't gotten to the flour part yet. And adding the flour doesn't really change the taste of your batter very much. So now is the time to taste it and see if it tastes the way you want to. This is a good time to correct for salt-sugar imbalances, any sort of change in the way that you have any extracts, any spices that you're putting in. If you wanted to put in like cinnamon or you want more Chipotle, you can go ahead and do that here. But
powdered orange or something.
That is fantastic. Woo. Oh man, I'm so excited.
That's just butter.
Yeah, that is just butter. I don't even care. So next we're going to add our flour. And I keep my flour in one of these little things. What I do before I add flour to literally any baking recipe is to agitate the flour. And that's because I don't sift my flour, because I'm lazy. And because I also don't want to wash a flour sifter. Who does that? Who does that? So when you have your flour in one of these things, you want to make sure that you've got hands on both sides and you put it up and down. And then when it does that, you can feel the flour fall. You can feel it fall in clumps. And you want to kind of do this until you feel that it's shifting inside but not any clumps that are falling down. And this really just kind of aerates the flour and makes it more like it has been sifted. Because really, you don't need to sift flour anymore because there aren't just like gross bugs and flour holes inside, you know, like little wheat holes inside of things. So we are going to use a rounded cup, a heaping cup of flour. This is about 1 cup, and this is like 1 1/8 cup of flour to 1 1/4 cup of flour or something along those lines. And now we're going to fully mix this together. Making sure to scrape the sides and the bottom so you can get all of that delicious, delicious goodness. Woo, missed that big chunk on the side. You can see it's almost come together now.
So, question for today's episode. What is your favorite... There we go, focus, you fuck. Alright, what's your favorite type of cookie?
This is actually not my favorite cookie.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, this is your favorite cookie.
Well, it's not even my favorite cookie. It's just that chocolate chip cookies are the best cookies.
It's really hard for me to choose like a favorite cookie.
But you have to, you're on the spot.
Oh boy.
It's the Sophie's choice of cookies.
I really like... Oh man, this is so tough. I really like... I really, really like oatmeal cookies. But with chocolate chips. Chocolate chips.
Chocolate chip oatmeal cookies.
And craisins and walnuts.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But I also love peanut butter cookies with
cookies.
chunks of peanuts.
This is what I'm gonna say.
Snickerdoodles, I really like snickerdoodles.
If you like chunks of peanut in your peanut butter cookies, you're the same person who likes chunks of corn in your cornbread, and both of those responses
that's not true, because I don't like chunks of corn in my cornbread.
Those are both
anyway,
shit.
now that we've got this all mixed up together, and really you know that it's been mixed when you don't see any, like, traces of flour in your dough, so you don't want it to be lumpy.
You don't want
now we're just going to add chocolate chips. And this is another fun one because I don't measure this stuff. I do about a handful.
Do more than that.
Of chocolate chips.
Do more than that.
We're going with 1.5 handfuls of chocolate chips. Yeah. We're getting chocolatey today. And then we're just going to go ahead and mix this together again.
I don't like that in the ear. Getting chocolatey today. I don't like the way that sounds. I feel like that's a weird weather system.
There's a high of chocolate coming in from the south.
Yeah, nope,
I'm not gonna do that.
You know what I'm saying?
And now is a good time to kind of decide how much chocolate, how many chocolate chips, how much of this do you want in here?
More chocolate chips.
I'm gonna go with more chocolate chips.
Yeah.
So that's 2 handfuls. That's probably 3/4 cup of chocolate chips.
If you're measuring, if you're one of those measure people.
Yeah, otherwise you just do it to however much you want. So now we've got this all mixed together. We've got our chocolate chips in there. Our oven is at temperature, and we have our cookie sheets. So I use silicone liners on my cookie sheets. They're just slightly too big for my cookie sheets, which is hilarious. Chocolate chip cookies are a drop cookie. So what that means is...
Happy birthday to the ground?
No, you don't happy birthday to the ground.
You just fucking throw it to the ground?
No.
It's a drop cookie of 50 feet.
A drop cookie essentially means that you're going to drop it onto the cooking surface. But I like to use my hands. So, no, I don't do that. This makes it so that I can lick all the delicious cookie batter off.
She's also one of those cookie batter eater people.
So, we've got
that's what I have to say.
Nice little chunks.
Clumps, globs. If you look here, you just apply the glob directly to the silicone.
Yep.
Also, real talk, get you some fucking silicone everything.
They're the best.
We have a silicone, like, bread pan now. It's fucking badass.
Yeah.
The camera's just freaking out with your hands walking.
Yeah, the camera has no idea what to do with this right now.
Okay, well, we're just pan back. We're going to be
probably
pan back
best.
style. There you go.
Obviously, if you're doing this with your hands, you should probably wash your hands beforehand. I already did that.
Don't listen to her lies.
And if you did not, what are you doing handling food without washing your hands first? Come on.
In reality, what are you doing anything not washing your hands first? And I'm not talking about, like, apocalypse times things. I'm just talking, like, who's these motherfuckers walking around with dirty-ass hands all the time?
I don't know, man.
Like, dude, I wash my hands a lot.
When I see that I
so
have, like gunk underneath my fingernails, I can't handle it. I have to, like...
Oh, dude, I don't...
have them super clean all the time. Drives me
so
crazy.
Many times a day. Like, pretty much every time I change the surface that I'm touching... Oh, I'm holding a can of Coke?
All right.
I'm going to run my hands under some water and some soap and wash them before I go back to my laptop. It's a fucking cold can of soda.
So, we've got all of our cookies out. As you can see, this is about 16 cookies.
14 cookies.
16 cookies. 16. I just had to look and make sure that was really 16. So, you can do this in two ways. Traditionally with drop cookies, you just plop them on and then they expand and bake. But I always like to kind of give them a little bit of a pat on top.
You can use a fork for that, like an adult.
Or you can just use your hands, it's fine. And this is really just to even out the height between them. That way you have some that are not like tiny mountains and others that are like big flat deserts.
Yeah.
So...
I guess, I mean, the mountain chocolate chip cookies are pretty good.
I guess. So now we're going to go ahead and set these babies into our hot oven, and they're going to sit in here for about 8 minutes. Or until you can see that the cookies are cooked all the way through. And what does that look like? That means that it looks like that the center is wet but not liquid.
We'll show you.
We'll show you.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, you basically get to lick your fingers clean and the bowl and the spatula, because who doesn't want chocolate chip cookie dough?
Regular adult humans with rational thinking minds.
That's untrue.
It's not.
Yeah, so we will see you when it's ready to take these cookies out of the oven.
How long are you baking these for?
8 minutes.
Ah, okay. We'll see you in 8 minutes, I guess. Bye. Alright guys, we're back. It's been 45 minutes.
Woo!
Cookies are fucking charcoal briquettes.
That's happened a few times. So we're going to go ahead and pull these babies out of the oven.
There you go. Look at that.
Da-da-da!
Oven chef.
So we can see
Finn.
that these guys are not liquid in the center, but are still soft. So you can see that it's still kind of wet there in the center. You can also cook your cookies a little bit longer. And this, to me, is perfect. I like these cookies to be exactly like this. So please don't tell me better ways to do it. This is how I like them. So, we're going to let these cookies cool for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then once we're done letting them cool, we will scrape them off, put them onto a rack, and then attempt to eat them molten hot.
Yeah. You know what? There's a bunch of different ways to do chocolate chip cookies. As a generality, I prefer them a bit meatier and less thin, but
this is how I like them.
Yeah. They're very crackery.
They're crispy, and they're great for dipping into like hot tea or coffee.
Yeah, I don't dip things.
I do. I dip, you dip, we dip.
But we don't, because I don't.
But I dip, you dip, we dip.
No. Anywho, so this was some sort of chocolate chip cookies and some sort of baking. I have not been on camera at all. Wife was the one that taught you how to do this. And, yeah. So don't forget to like this video, comment below, share, subscribe if you have other baking things. If you make chocolate chip cookies in a different way, let us know what different way do you make them. Everybody has a different way. I mean, some people love those fucking chewy ones. Like, it's all over the board, right?
Yep.
And if there's, like, another kind of cookie that you want us to bake or something like that, let us know, and we'll have... mostly we'll have Julie do that. So
yep.
It's less work for me. Except for the editing.
Yeah, so like, comment, share, subscribe, make some cookies, add some Chipotle.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.